In this video, I would like to talk to you about one of the most prevalent common errors that I see when students are working with square roots. This error is so prevalent that even when I am teaching Math 254, which is, I think, 7 math classes away from where you are now, students are still making this error, and it's costing them a lot of points. In the previous video, we talked about how to simplify something like what we have on the left-hand side here. We have x squared times y squared, all under the square root. And we said that one way to simplify this is to write out each individual factor separately, x times y, and to go looking for pairs, a pair of x's and a pair of y's. Becomes an x outside of the root and a y outside of the root, and nothing is left underneath the root. However, what happens if we change that x squared times y squared into the much more sinister x squared plus y squared? In this case, the square root on the right side cannot be simplified at all. The technique that we have used in the example on the left and the example in the previous video can only be applied when the quantities under the root are being multiplied together. If the quantities under the root are being added or subtracted, your square root cannot be simplified at all. So here's a very important general principle. If the quantities under your square root are being added or subtracted, then the square root cannot be simplified. If you want to simplify your square root, the quantities under the root have to be multiplied or divided. The quantities under the root must be multiplied or divided. So, what would be examples of square roots that we can simplify? Things like the square root of 9 times x squared, or things like the square root of 9 divided by x squared. All of this would be possible to simplify, either multiplied together or divided. And we'll talk about how to handle the division case later in Chapter 9. However, what would be examples of square roots that can't be simplified? Things like the square root of 9 plus x squared. Things like the square root of 9 minus x squared. If the quantities under the root are being added or subtracted, then the square root cannot be simplified at all.